I'd been writing checks for 18 months. Equipment deposits, lease agreements, licensing fees, medical supply contracts. $4.3 million of my money turning her dream into concrete and steel. Tonight was supposed to be the celebration. The venue was packed. Investors she'd courted, medical partners she'd recruited, her parents beaming in the front row. I stood near the back in my suit, proud of what we'd built together, or what I thought we'd built together. She took the microphone, thanked the architects, the contractors, her staff. Then she turned toward me with this smile I'd never seen before. Cold, practiced, and of course, I need to acknowledge my test-run husband. The room went silent. I felt every eye shift to me. You know how you practiced on the older model before you upgrade. She laughed. A few people laughed with her. Nervous, confused laughter. Well, he served his purpose, got me here. But every successful woman knows when it's time for an actual partner, not a placeholder. She pulled an envelope from her jacket, walked it over to me in front of everyone. Divorce. Papers already signed on my end. Thanks for the investment. She patted my shoulder like I was a business associate and walked back to the microphone, started talking about her vision for the clinic like nothing had happened. I stood there holding the envelope. Her father wouldn't look at me. Her mother had her hand over her mouth. Andrew, my best friend, looked furious. I pulled out my phone, texted my attorney, "Need you now. Emergency," and my accountant. Freeze everything. I walked to the front, took the microphone from her hand. She looked startled. "Quick announcement," I said to the room. "As the sole private investor in this clinic, I'm immediately withdrawing all funding. Effective tonight. Good luck, everyone." I handed her back the microphone and left. Behind me, I heard her voice crack as she tried to laugh it off. "He's joking. He wouldn't actually." But I was already in the parking lot calling my attorney. "How fast can we pull $4.3 million out of a business venture? If you're the only investor and it's pre-operational 48 hours, maybe less, do it." I drove home. Not to our home, to the house I'd owned before we got married. The one in my name only. The one where I'd been staying more often lately because she was too busy with clinic preparations. My phone started ringing before I even pulled into the driveway. Her number. I declined the call. It rang again. Declined again. Declined. By the time I walked inside, I had 12 missed calls. I poured myself a drink, sat in my living room, and for the first time in 18 months, I felt like I could breathe. My phone buzzed. Text from Andrew. "That was the most spectacular thing I've ever seen. You okay me getting there, Andrew?" "Good." Because she's losing her mind. Her parents are freaking out. Half the people at that event are asking what just happened. Me. They'll figure it out. Another text. "My attorney meeting tomorrow morning. Bring all investment documentation." Me already organized. I'd known something was off for months. The way she pulled away. The late nights that had nothing to do with clinic prep. The phone calls she'd taken in the other room. I just didn't know she'd humiliate me in front of 100 people. Big mistake on her part. By morning, my phone showed 67 missed calls, all from her. I didn't listen to a single voicemail. Someone knocked on my door around 8 a.m. I looked through the window. Her father. This was going to be interesting. I opened the door. Her father stood there in the same suit from last night, looking like he hadn't slept. "We need to talk." "No, we don't." I started to close the door. He put his hand up. "Please, just 5 minutes." I stepped outside, pulled the door shut behind me. Wasn't letting him in. "You're destroying her dream," he said. "Over what? Hurt feelings? Over being humiliated in front of 100 people? Over being called a test run? Over divorce papers handed to me like a parking ticket? She made a mistake. She's under a lot of stress." Stuff. I held up my hand. "I put $4.3 million into that clinic. My money, not joint savings. Mine." She thanked me by announcing our divorce and making me look like an idiot. "So, yeah, I'm taking my money back. The equipment suppliers want payment. The lease company is threatening legal action. The medical partners are pulling out. You're going to ruin her." "She ruined herself." He stepped closer. "We refinanced our house to help with initial costs. We believed in her. You're going to hurt all of us because of one bad night." That made me pause. "You refinanced your house. $50,000 we thought we were investing in family." I felt a twinge of something. Not guilt, just awareness that collateral damage existed. "I'm sorry about your house," I said genuinely. "But that's between you and your daughter. She made choices last night. Choices have consequences. You're really going to do this?" "It's already done. My attorney filed the paperwork this morning. Every penny gets returned to my accounts within 48 hours. His face went pale. "You say you were bluffing." "I don't bluff." He left without another word. By noon, the email started. Equipment suppliers demanding payment. The landlord for the clinic space asking about the next installment. Medical partners requesting urgent meetings. I forwarded everything to my attorney with one instruction. Handle it cleanly. Nothing illegal. Just get my investment back. My accountant called at 2 p.m. The clinic account had $60,000 in deposits from other investors. Small amounts. Family, friends, mostly want me to preserve those. Yes, they didn't humiliate me. Just return my portion. Done. At 4:00 p.m., Andrew showed up with coffee and Chinese food. "You're trending on local social media," he said. "I'm packing containers in my kitchen." "Fantastic. Half the people think you're a vindictive jerk, the other half think you're a legend." "I am firmly in the legend camp, for the record." "Good to know." He pulled out his phone, showed me a post from her mother. "Heartbroken, watching my daughter's dreams destroyed by a cruel man who can't handle being left. Prayers needed." I handed the phone back. "Let them spin it however they want. You're not going to defend yourself." "Why would I? Anyone who matters knows what happened. Everyone else can think whatever they want." Andrew studied me. "You're calm about this because I'm done. 18 months of funding someone who saw me as temporary. I'm not angry, I'm just finished." My phone rang. Her number again. "Call number 92 according to my log." "You really haven't talked to her once?" Andrew asked. "Not once. She's going to show up here eventually. I changed the locks this morning. She doesn't have a key anymore." "When did you have time?" "Called a locksmith. At 6 a.m. He was here by 7 o'clock. Andrew laughed. "You're terrifying when you're efficient." We ate in silence for a minute. Then he said, "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Did you see this coming?" I set down my chopsticks. "The divorce, kind of." She'd been distant for months. Cold. Always on her phone. I figured something was happening. "So why the big investment if you knew?" "Because I wanted to be wrong. Wanted to believe she'd remember why we got married in the first place. Wanted to think supporting her would fix whatever broke between us. And instead, she called you a test run. Instead, she called me a test run." Andrew shook his head. "I knew. She was self-centered. Didn't know she was cruel." My attorney texted, "All funds will be back in your account by tomorrow afternoon. Clean withdrawal. No legal issues." I showed Andrew the message. "That was fast." He said, "That's what happens when everything's documented properly." I had every receipt, every transfer, every contract. This wasn't our money, it was mine. What's she going to do now? Not my problem. My phone buzzed. Text from her. "You're making a huge mistake. We can fix this. Call me." I deleted it without responding. "How many messages is that?" Andrew asked. Stopped counting at 50. He raised his coffee cup, 2 test runs being over. I clinketed my cup against his 2 actual partnerships wherever they may be. Outside, a car pulled up her car. "Want me to stay?" Andrew asked. "No, I've got this." She got out and headed for the door. Time to make some things very clear. Andrew left through the back. I watched her walk up the driveway, rehearsing whatever speech she'd prepared. She knocked. I waited 10 seconds before opening the door. "We need to talk," she said. "No, we don't. You can't just destroy everything I built." "I didn't build anything. I funded it with my money, which I'm now taking back." She pushed past me. Into the house. I didn't stop her, just closed the door. 4 years of marriage and this is how you treat me." She spun around, eyes blazing. 4 years of marriage and you call me a test run in front of everyone we know. "So yeah, this is how I treat people who humiliate me." It was a joke, a stupid joke that came out wrong. "You had divorce papers ready." That wasn't a joke. She faltered. I was angry. "You've been distant. You never supported my vision. I gave you $4.3 million. Money isn't support." I laughed. Couldn't help it. "You're standing in my house upset that I won't fund your business anymore. Telling me money isn't support. Did you hear yourself? You know what I mean? Emotional support. Being present. You treated this clinic like a transaction because it was you wanted money for a business venture. I provided it. What I didn't sign up for was public humiliation and divorce papers as a thank you gift." She sat down on my couch uninvited. "Can we just talk? Actual conversation?" "Sure. Start with why you're here." "To fix this, to explain, to make you understand." "I understand perfectly. You wanted the clinic funded. Got it funded. Decided you didn't need me anymore. Miscalculated how quickly I could pull the money. Now you're here doing damage control. That's not fair." "Fair." I leaned against the wall. "You want to talk about fair? Let's discuss how you told 50 people I was practiced before the upgrade. Let's discuss how you handed me divorce papers like I was a business expense you were writing off. That fair enough for you?" Her phone rang. She glanced at it, declined the call. "That the medical partners?" I asked. "Were the equipment suppliers?" "Stop it." "Stop what?" "Stop being accurate. Your clinic doesn't exist without my money. You knew that, which is why the timing of your little announcement was so interesting." She looked up. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. You waited until after I'd paid for everything. Until the clinic was days from opening. Until you thought the money was locked in and untouchable. Then you made your move. You think I planned this? I think you're smarter than you're pretending to be right now." She stood up, walked to the window. "There's someone else finally." "Truth, I figured," I said. She turned around surprised. "You knew? Suspected? You don't go from loving wife to calling me a test run overnight. So, who is it?" "One of the medical partners, Dr. Riley Sharp, of course. The cosmetic surgeon she'd been gushing about for months. The one who was so visionary and understood her goals. Does he know you just torpedoed the clinic? He thinks we can find other investors. Good luck with that. Word travels fast in medical circles. Nobody's going to touch a clinic where the primary investor pulled out spectacularly. You're enjoying this." I'm not enjoying anything. I'm just watching consequences happen. Her phone rang again. She answered this time. Hello, yes, I know. I don't have another funding source. I'm working on that's not fair. We had a contract. She hung up. The landlord is canceling the lease. Says without proof of funding they can't hold the space. Makes sense. You don't care at all. I care that I was humiliated. I care that you thought you could use me and discard me. I care that you're now dealing with the natural consequences of treating people like disposable resources. I made a mistake. You made several. The biggest one was thinking I'd just accept being called a test run and keep writing checks. She pulled out her phone, showed me something. Look at this. It was a text thread. Dr. Sharp telling her he was pulling out of the partnership. Too much risk now. Too much bad publicity. He's gone, she said quietly. The clinic's gone. My parents refinanced their house for nothing. And you're just standing there like none of this matters. It doesn't. Not to me. Not anymore. How can you be so cold? I'm not cold, I'm done. There's a difference. She tried a different approach. Softer voice. We had good years. Remember when we first met? When we'd stay up all night talking about your future. I also remember last night when you handed me divorce papers in front of a crowd. Recent memories tend to be more vivid if I apologize. Stop. Whatever you're about to say, stop. An apology doesn't refund $4.3 million. It doesn't undo public humiliation, and it definitely doesn't make me interested in funding your life anymore. Andrew was right. I was terrifying when I was officiate. She left 10 minutes later. Didn't get what she came for. My attorney called that evening. Funds transferred. You're clear. Good. One more thing. She's hired representation. Attorney named Simmons. He's aggressive, but not particularly bright. This will be fine. Keep me updated. I hung up and opened my laptop. Time to figure out what came next. Starting with changing every password she might have to anything connected to my life. 3 days later, her parents showed up at my office. Security called before letting them up. 2 people claiming to be family. Should I send them away? No, let them come up. This should be interesting. They walked into my office looking defeated. Her mother had been crying. Her father looked 10 years older than when I'd seen him at my house. Please, her mother started. Just listen. I gestured to the chairs across from my desk. They sat. We lost our house, her father said. The refinance was contingent on the clinic succeeding. Bank called the loan when they heard about the funding withdrawal. We have 30 days to pay back $50,000 or they foreclose. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Her mother's voice cracked. Our daughter made a mistake, a terrible, stupid mistake. But we're the ones losing everything. You chose to refinance your house based on her business plan. That was your decision. We trusted her. We're her parents and I was her husband. Trusted her, too. Look how that worked out. Her father leaned forward. What do you want? An apology. Public humiliation in return. Name it, we'll make her do whatever you need. Just help us save our house. I don't want anything from her. And I'm not giving her money. Those are separate issues. So, we just lose our home. We're in our 60s. We can't start over. I pulled out my checkbook, wrote a check for $50,000, slid it across the desk. They stared at it. This is a loan, I said. To you, not her. You pay me back when you can. No interest, no timeline. Just whenever you're able. Her mother picked up the check with shaking hands. Why would you do this? Because you didn't humiliate me. You didn't call me a test run. You made a financial decision based on information you had. That's not your fault. Her father looked at me. She really screwed this up, didn't she? Spectacularly. They left with a check. I knew I'd probably never see that money again. Didn't matter. There were decent people caught in someone else's mess. At afternoon, her attorney sent a letter, 10 pages of legal threats. My attorney called, laughing. This is the worst demand letter I've seen in 15 years. He's threatening to sue for intentional business interference and emotional damages. Neither applies here. How do you want to respond? I'll send him a basic explanation of why he's wrong. Should shut him up. If not, we'll bury him in paperwork. 2 hours later, she posted on social media a long emotional essay about betrayal, about men who punish women for wanting independence, about vindictive exes who destroy dreams. Comments poured in, half supportive, half calling her out. Someone had apparently recorded her speech at the event and posted it. The test-run husband comment was going viral. Andrew texted, she's getting destroyed in the comments. People are not buying her victim story. Me not surprised. Andrew, one guy wrote, imagine calling your husband a test run then acting shocked when he stops paying for your life. Got 3,000 likes. Me, the internet is efficient sometimes. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. This is Dr. Riley Sharp. I think we should talk. Interesting. About what? Your ex-wife. She told me you pulled funding out of spite. But I've been reading social media. Saw the video. That's not what happened, is it? No, that's not what happened. She said you two were already separated. That the clinic was separate from the marriage. That you were just an investor who got cold feet. She laid silence on his end. Then I ended things with her this morning. Wanted you to know that I don't get involved with liars. Appreciate the call. One more thing. The other medical partners were discussing legal action against her. She misrepresented the funding situation. Some of us put in deposits based on her assurances. We want those back. Talk to your attorney, I'm not involved in that. He hung up. Evening came. I was home making dinner when someone started pounding on my door. Not knocking, pounding. I looked through the window. Her brother, Clay, I think his name was, looked furious. I opened the door. You smug bastard, he said, pushing inside. Get out. You humiliated my sister, destroyed her business, made her a laughingstock online. You think that's okay? I think handing me divorce papers in front of 100 people while calling me a test run is what started this. Everything else is just consequences. She made a mistake, then she can live with it. Like I'm living with being publicly humiliated. You're hiding behind money. You're a coward who can't handle a strong woman, I laughed. Strong women don't need to insult their partners to feel powerful. Strong women don't make their family refinance their house to fund a fantasy. Your sister isn't strong. She's reckless. He stepped closer. Say that again. Get out of my house now. Make me. I pulled up my phone, dialed, put it on speaker. 911, what's your emergency? Someone's in my home refusing to leave. I need police. Clay's eyes went wide. You're calling the cops? Yes, because you're trespassing and threatening me. Your choice. Leave now or explain this to officers. He left. The operator asked if I was safe. I confirmed and hung up. My attorney texted her lawyer wants to meet. Settlement discussion. Should I take it? Me sure. Should be entertaining. This was far from over, but I was patient and I had all the leverage. The settlement meeting was scheduled for Friday. Never happened. Thursday night, someone knocked on my door around 9 p.m. soft. Hesitant knocking. Not aggressive like her brother. Not desperate like her. I checked the window. Young woman, mid-20s. Took me a second to recognize her. Alicia, the younger sister. The one who'd always been quiet at family dinners. The one who actually asked me questions about my work instead of just talking about herself. I opened the door. I know you probably don't want to see anyone from the family, she said. But I need to tell you something. Something nobody else will. I stepped aside. She came in. Coffee, water. Water's fine. I handed her a glass. We sat in the living room. I'm not here to defend her, Alicia said. I'm here because you deserve the truth. The whole truth. Go ahead. She took a breath. My parents didn't just refinance their house. They emptied their retirement accounts. 58,000 total. They told everyone it was 50 because they were embarrassed. My stomach tightened. Why are you telling me this? Because she knew. She knew they were risking everything. She told them it was guaranteed money. That you were so in love you'd never pull out. That she had you completely under control. Under control. Her words, not mine. Alicia looked down at her hands. There's more. Dr. Sharp, they've been involved for 7 months since the beginning of the clinic planning. He was helping her design the layout. Choose equipment. She told me he was her actual future and you were just funding the transition. 7 months. While I was writing checks and believing we were building something together. The divorce papers, Alicia continued. She had those ready for 3 weeks. Showed them to me. Asked if I thought the timing was right. I told her she was being cruel. She said I didn't understand business. Business. That's how she saw it. You were a business arrangement. She'd gotten what she needed. Time to upgrade. I stood up, walked to the window, processed. Why are you telling me this? I asked again. Because she's planning to lie in the settlement. Claim you promised the money as a gift, not an investment. Claim you were abusive and controlling. Claim she feared for her safety. I turned around what her attorney suggested it. Said if she could prove emotional abuse, she might get a better settlement. She's going to say you've isolated her from friends, controlled her finances, made her feel trapped. That's completely fabricated. I know. I was there. I saw how you treated her. You were supportive. Maybe too supportive. She's going to lie under oath. Why are you risking your relationship with your family to tell me this? Alicia met my eyes because I'm tired of watching her destroy people and claim victim status. She did this to her last boyfriend, too. Different situation, but same pattern. Use them, discard them, play victim when consequences happen. Your parents know about this plan. No, they think she made a mistake, but means well. They don't know how calculated this was. And if I tell them, they won't believe me. She's always been the golden child. What do you get out of warning me? Nothing. Probably get cut off from the family when she finds out. But I couldn't watch you walk into that meeting unprepared. You didn't deserve what she did. I sat back down. You're going to lose your family over this. Maybe or maybe they'll eventually see who she actually is. Either way, someone needed to tell the truth. We sat in silence for a minute. The medical partners are suing her. I said, did you know that? I heard she's panicking. The Clinton New space is gone. Dr. Sharp won't talk to her. Her reputation in the medical community is trashed. Everything's falling apart. And she's trying to blame me for all of it. That's what she does. Takes no responsibility ever. Alicia stood up. I should go. Just wanted you to know what's coming. Document everything. Save every text. Every email, every witness who saw how you treated her because she's going to try to destroy you in that settlement meeting. I walked her to the door. Thank you genuinely. I'm sorry she did this to you. You were good to her, better than she deserved. After she left, I called my attorney. Midnight, didn't matter. We have a problem, I said, and explained everything Alicia told me. He was quiet for a long moment. Okay, change of plans. We're not doing a settlement meeting. We're going to deposition. I want her under oath. I want every lie documented, and then we're going to bury her. How fast can we move? Divorce hearing is in 6 weeks. We'll be ready. I hung up and looked at my phone. Text from Andrew. You good, me getting better? Just found out how deep this goes. Andrew, need me to come over? Me, no, I'm fine. Just planning. I pulled out my laptop, started organizing every document, every text, every email from the past 2 years, every witness who'd seen how I treated her, every piece of evidence showing I was supportive, not controlling. She wanted to play victim. Fine, but I had the truth. And in 6 weeks, everyone would know it. The divorce hearing was scheduled for 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. I arrived 15 minutes early with my attorney and 3 banker's boxes full of documentation. She walked in with her attorney, Simmons, and her parents. Saw me, her face went pale. The judge was a woman in her 50s named Pennington, non-sense type. She looked at both sides and said, I've reviewed the filings. This should be straightforward except for the allegations of financial abuse and controlling behavior. Mrs. You're claiming your husband isolated you and controlled your access to money. Yes, Your Honor, she said. He made me completely dependent on him. Judge Pennington looked at my attorney response. He stood. We have documentation showing the opposite, Your Honor. Bank statements proving she had full access to joint accounts. Text messages showing she made financial decisions independently. Witness statements from friends, family, and colleagues confirming she had complete autonomy. I'd like to see that. My attorney opened the first box, pulled out organized folders, bank statements showing she'd spent freely for 4 years, credit card bills and a name that I paid without question. Text threads where she told me she was buying things and I said fine. Emails where she planned trips with friends using our money. Judge Pennington reviewed everything. 20 minutes of silence except for pages turning. Ms. Itsky's statements show you spent $43,000 last year on personal expenses, vacations, shopping, spa treatments, all without restriction. He made me feel guilty about it, she said weakly. Did he refuse any purchases? No, but did he require you to ask permission? Not exactly, but a dynamic. Yes or no answers, please. Did he ever prevent you from accessing money? No. Did he ever threaten you financially? Not in words, but yes or no? No. Judge Pennington set down the papers. I'm not seeing evidence of financial abuse. What I am seeing is a woman who had complete financial freedom and is now claiming victim status to improve her settlement position. I don't appreciate that in my courtroom. Her attorney jumped in. Your Honor, there's also the matter of the business investment. He destroyed a clinic out of spite. I've reviewed that too. Judge Pennington interrupted. The clinic was funded entirely by the husband's personal money, not marital funds, not joint investment. His money. He had every legal right to withdraw it. But the timing was after she publicly humiliated him and handed him divorce papers at a business event. I've seen the video. Frankly, I'm surprised he didn't withdraw the funding that same night. My attorney presented more evidence. The affair with Dr. Sharp, text messages between her and friends, where she called me a placeholder and temporary solution. Messages where she bragged about having me figured out and knowing I'd never actually leave. Her mother gasped when those were read aloud. Her father put his head in his hands. Judge Pennington looked disgusted. Mrs., did you tell your husband you were having an affair while he was funding a business? It wasn't an affair. We were separated. According to your own filing, you were married and living together until the night of the clinic event. That's 3 weeks ago. When did this relationship with Dr. Sharp begin? Silence. Mrs., I asked you a question. 7 months ago? She whispered so. Yes. You were having an affair while your husband invested millions in your clinic. Did you plan to tell him I was going to? After the clinic opened, then his money was locked in. More silence. Judge Pennington closed the file. Here's my ruling. This marriage is dissolved. Assets will be divided as follows. The house purchased before marriage remains with the husband. The $4.3 million invested in the clinic was personal funds, not marital assets, and is not subject to division. Joint savings will be split equally. Joint debts will be split equally. No alimony will be awarded given the short marriage duration and her employability as a physician. Her attorney stood, Your Honor. That leaves my client with very little. Your client left herself with very little when she committed adultery, publicly humiliated her husband, and then attempted to commit perjury in my courtroom by falsely claiming abuse. She's lucky I'm being this generous. We're done here. The gavel came down. Outside the courthouse, her parents approached me. Her father handed me an envelope. What's this? First payment on the loan? $2,000? It's all we can manage right now, but we'll send more each month. You don't have to.
Yeah, we do.
You helped us when you had no reason to. We're going to pay you back. Her mother touched my arm. I'm sorry for all of it. We raised her better than this. I don't know what happened. I said, sometimes people just are who they are. They walked away. She stood by her car alone, staring at me. No more defiance, no more smugness. Just someone finally understanding that consequences are permanent. I didn't gloat, didn't approach her, just got in my car and drove home. 3 months later, I heard through Andrew that she'd taken a job at a clinic 2 states away. Fresh start. Apparently the medical partners had settled their lawsuit. She paid back their deposits from the inheritance her grandmother left her. Dr. Sharp was engaged to someone else. The clinic space became a yoga studio. Her parents paid me back in full over 18 months, insisted on adding $1,000 as interest even though I told them not to. Alicia and I got coffee occasionally. She'd been right. Her family cut her off for a while, but eventually her parents came around. Started seeing the patterns they'd ignored for years. As for me, I dated a little, focused on work, bought a dog, normal stuff. No dramatic transformation, no revenge. Tour, just life moving forward. Someone asked me once if I regretted the investment. $4.3 million is a lot to lose on a marriage. I told them I didn't lose it. I got it back, every penny. What I lost was the illusion that someone loved me. But illusions aren't worth $4.3 million. Truth is worth more. And I got that for free. This is where the story ends. How was today's story? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments and where you're watching from. Like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories.